Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is that possibly I'm the wrong person to ask this question. I think that other people have a better view. I'm too close to it, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's more of a punk rock record than any that I've made for certainly for a few years and possibly ever as a solo artist. And I'm excited about that. It feels like coming home musically. And lyrically, it's a pretty personal record. It's quite intense in a way that hopefully matches the music. It does. There's a bunch of reasons for it. I've been using a logo with the FTHC thing for years now. It's difficult to have a logo as a solo artist, it's hard to find one. And I came up with this design, and it's based on the old 1980s hardcore punk kind of scene logos, New York hardcore, UK hardcore, whatever. And so I've been using it for years, and lots of people don't know what the HC stands for, so I make up stupid shit to tell them. It's been in my mind to use it for an album title for a few years, and then when the music for this record was coming together, it was like, oh, okay, it's this one. This is the one. Because if it's not this one, I don't know which one it would ever be, if you see what I mean. But yeah, I'm not saying that the whole record is a hardcore punk record, but there's certainly moments that get closer to that than anything that I've done in my solo career. This is my ninth album, which is a crazy thing to say out loud, but there it is. And one of the nice things about being nine records in, and certainly how I feel about this record, is that I don't need to think about things like genre very much. You know what I mean? I'm clearly me, and I've been doing this for a long time, and it's just like at this point, whatever I write can go on a record. It doesn't really matter. And it was kind of fun, like particularly like the opening song, Non Serviam's a pretty heavy riff, and I wrote it, and my first thought was like, oh, well, this will be for a side project or something, and then it was like, well, why? This is fun. This is cool. Let's just put this out how it is. And it's quite liberating. Yeah. Yeah, first of all, thank you. That's a nice thing to hear. That's definitely my intention. The making of this album was quite strange because I don't know if you noticed, but there was a global pandemic, right? I think that, I had started writing the record and we had a normal plan to record it at the start of 2020. And obviously none of that happened. In many ways that was bad, that was terrible. But as far as the record goes, I'd written 10 songs before the pandemic. I was thinking maybe I will write five more. In the end, I wrote 18 more. I wrote a lot more songs, and I had time because there was nothing to do. I had time to demo them in more depth and to think about the arrangements and the lyrics and stuff, maybe a bit more than I have in some previous records that I've made. And that was kind of cool, and it just meant that the idea that I was going to go a bit more punk and a bit more personal kind of went much further down those roads than it might have done if I'd made it in a normal way. So, and we recorded the album remotely, which was very strange. I've still never met anyone who played drums on this album. It's crazy, because they're all in America, and, friends of friends or hookups through the producer or whatever it is. But basically, it's quite weird. Like Elan Rubin from Nine Inch Nails played drums on most of the record, and we've never met. But yeah, in terms of it's kind of fun. Like a song like My Bad, I was like, I want to do a fast song, and it's like, let's go all the way down that road. And Non Serviam's a different thing, and Little Life is a different thing, and Untainted Love is a different thing. I had the time to explore each of these rooms. Yeah, the first thing to say is that it's not a lockdown album. I think there's enough lockdown albums already, and I think that I don't know how interesting it is to keep talking about that. But at the same time, art should reflect life, and we're all living through this thing, and it's enormous, and it would be crazy for it to have no effect on the album at all, So it's there, it's in the background. But I think it's interesting to me, like this is, as I say, it's my ninth record. I turned 40 years old the other day. And mostly that's bad, right? But one of the good things about getting older is that you're more secure in yourself as a person. And what that means, in a way that I find quite interesting, is that it means that I feel safer to write about more difficult things. So there's quite a lot of stuff on the record that's about my childhood, which I've never talked about in public before. And I don't think I could have done before because I was still pretty raw for me. And I want to explore these things and talk about them. But, now I'm in a place where I feel like I can talk about them and then I can kind of stop, and kind of be safe at the end of it all. So there's some pretty heavy stuff on the record, though. There's stuff about my personal life as well. And I'm a married man now, and it's fantastic. I'm very happy about that. But also I left London, which is a big thing. I never thought I would leave London, but I did. I live in Essex now. I can see the sea from where I'm sitting, which is beautiful. And that's a huge change for me. And again, that's related to the pandemic and it's related to getting older. But I felt more comfortable discussing that this time. That's a difficult question. And then the answer should be no, because you're not supposed to choose between your children, right? I think one of my favorite songs on the record is a song called The Resurrectionists. It's a song about what happens to the young and the wild and the beautiful and the damned, as me and my friends were when we were in our 20s. What are we doing when we're nearly 40 or we're 40 and people have got kids and we move to the countryside and all that kind of thing? So it's an exploration of that idea, and it's based on a really cool piano part that I love, and it has Simon from Biffy Clyro sings on the song, which is really cool for me. He's an old friend. So yeah, I like that one, but I like them all. Yeah, so it's like a really small festival. I did the first one in London, first two in London actually, in 2017, 2018. Then we went to Boston. Then we were coming to Berlin. And then there was a pandemic, so we didn't do that. And then last year we did London again because it was because of travel restrictions and everything. But I was aware that I owed Berlin a show, you know what I mean? So the idea is it's 4 nights and I headline each night, but I play different sets each night, and one of them's solo and one of them's old stuff and one of them's new stuff and one of them's kind of greatest hits, and then but there's 2 stages, so there's like 8 or 9 bands each day, and then we take over bars nearby and we have like an open mic for anyone who wants to play can play. We have discussion groups, we have panels and activism and all that kind of thing going on as well. And just means for 4 days there's one little space that sort of becomes like a little magic world where you can just hang out and then listen to me at the end of the day. But it's really fun. The previous ones have all been amazing. I mean, actually, funnily enough, the one last year back in London again, it was kind of strange because of everything happening. But the fact that it happened at all was so crazy and everyone had a really good time. So I hope that the one in Berlin will be perfect. Sure. Well, yes, absolutely. Although I would say that talking to you, wouldn't I? Germany's great. It's funny. I remember the first time I played in Germany was in February 2009, and I was opening for Gaslight Anthem on tour. And I'd never been to Germany before. And I was in the backstage before my show. And on that tour, I was playing solo, just me and my guitar. And I was thinking, I was really nervous. I was thinking, is anyone going to like this? Is anyone in Germany going to care about my music? And forgive me this, but I was like, is anyone going to understand the lyrics kind of thing? And then after about half of the first song, I was like, oh, Germany's going to be fine. And then like that night, which was the first night of the European tour, we were in Cologne, and I sold like all of the merchandise I'd brought for the whole tour on the first night. I had to like make some really desperate phone calls, please send me more stuff. But it was really exciting, It suddenly, just immediately, the very first time I played in Germany, it felt like there was a connection. And I love playing everywhere in Europe, but Germany has a very special place in my heart.